Tonight, we wander into a gentle question, a calm ripple across the still waters of history. Imagine the world settling into silence, a hush in the air, the kind that comes just before sleep. And in that quiet, a single wondering thought appears. What if the Library of Alexandria had never burned? The library, glowing like a lantern in the ancient night. Scrolls stacked like drifting sand. Scholars walking slowly beneath tall stone columns. Wisdom rising like warm candle smoke into the sky. Take a breath. Let your shoulders loosen. Let the thought drift in and out like a tide. Tonight, we are not rushing toward answers. We are simply wandering, gently, through a world that could have been. A world where knowledge never fell to ash. Where ideas flowed like rivers. Where the ancient world never lost its greatest flame. And now, slowly, we step into this softer timeline, our footsteps echoing lightly through marble halls. This is the beginning of our quiet story. And now, gently, we step a little deeper into this quiet, alternate world. A world where the Library of Alexandria still breathes, its halls warm with lamplight, its scholars moving like calm shadows through endless corridors. Imagine the scent: old papyrus, faint oils, cool stone washed by the sea breeze, the glow of torches flickering softly along marble walls. Tonight, we walk slowly between shelves that rise higher than sleep itself. Scrolls resting in silence, each one a voice from centuries past, each one still safe, still waiting. In our timeline, so much of this wisdom was lost. But here, in this softer version of history, the knowledge lives on. Mathematicians whisper new ideas beneath archways. Astronomers trace the stars on smooth bronze plates. Healers study ancient herbs under moonlit windows. Their footsteps echo, calm, deliberate, as if time itself has slowed to listen. And the world outside feels different because of it. Nations are gentler in their decisions. Trade routes shimmer with shared ideas. And the embers of innovation glow centuries earlier than they should. In this timeline, the library becomes not just a place of learning, but a sanctuary of peace, where curiosity is protected and where the world grows quietly wiser. And now, slowly, we drift toward the first great change this surviving library brings. And so, as the library survives, the first ripples begin to move through time, quietly, like moonlight, sliding across calm water. In this softened history, astronomy awakens earlier, not rushed, not frantic, but with a patient curiosity. Inside the library's observatory, a round, open room crowned with polished stone. Scholars sit beside tall, bronze instruments, their hands steady, their breathing slow. Here, the night sky becomes a teacher. Every star, every wandering planet, every faint trail of light is recorded, preserved, and passed gently from one generation to the next. No scrolls are lost to flame. No constellations are forgotten. The chain of knowledge remains unbroken. And with this unbroken chain comes a quiet advancement. Celestial charts grow more detailed. Mathematics becomes a softer language of the universe. Sailors travel further with confidence, their ships guided by calm, accurate maps of the heavens. The world, moved by this constant glow of knowledge, feels a little safer, a little wiser, a little more connected. And tonight, as we drift deeper into the story, we begin to see how this surviving light changes not only the stars above, but the minds of those who walk under them. Whenever you're ready, whisper to me. And now, as the stars guide travelers across gentle seas, the library begins to shape another part of this peaceful world, healing, deep within the quiet halls, in rooms where oil lamps flicker like soft fireflies. Scholars gather around long stone tables, their voices hushed, their movements thoughtful. Here, ancient medical scrolls are never lost, never scattered, never forgotten. Herbal knowledge from distant lands, texts on anatomy written with patient precision, early insights on surgery and the body's hidden rhythms. All of it remains carefully stored, carefully studied, generation after generation. Healers from Egypt, Greece, Persia, India sit together beneath the same drifting lamplight, sharing remedies, trading gentle theories, listening to one another with respect. And in this world, medicine blossoms quietly, treatments grow safer, herbs are refined with calm care, simple operations become less fearful, an understanding of the human body forms earlier, not in haste, but in harmony. In the streets of Alexandria, sickness feels less mysterious, less frightening, because knowledge flows through the city like warm evening air. And farther across the world, caravans carry this healing wisdom to distant places, villages that may never see the library's tall columns, yet still feel its gentle influence. Tonight, we simply breathe with this thought that a single building, preserved by time, could soften the lives of millions without raising a sword or speaking above a whisper. And slowly, we drift toward the next quiet change this living library brings. And now, as healing knowledge spreads like a warm breeze through ancient streets, the library begins to guide the hands of makers, inventors, dreamers, in quiet workshops tucked behind marble walls. Artisans work by lantern glow, their tools set neatly on smooth wooden tables, their minds steady, unhurried. Here, invention is not a spark of chaos, but a soft unfolding. Scrolls of mathematics, engineering diagrams, notes on early machines are all preserved, studied, shared without fear of loss. Gearworks become more refined. Water pumps grow more efficient. Simple automata, small mechanical birds, gentle turning wheels become symbols of curiosity rather than luxury. And because the library never falls, neither does the knowledge. Ideas do not vanish into ash. They build upon one another, slowly, peacefully, like stones forming a quiet bridge across generations. Across Alexandria, fountains run cleaner. Workshops hum softly with new designs. Trade routes carry clever tools to distant lands. And far beyond the city, this steady stream of ideas begins to shape the world. Not with noise, not with haste, but with the calm certainty that wisdom, when protected, grows. Tonight, we breathe with this gentle truth, that innovation can be soft, kind, and still change everything. And now, as invention hums quietly through Alexandria's workshops, a new curiosity begins to stir across the ancient world. Exploration, not the frantic kind, not driven by conquest or urgency, but a slow, patient, wandering curiosity. Sailors gather in calm harbors at dusk, the sea stretching out like a sheet of dark silk. Stars are glimmering softly above them, with the library's preserved celestial charts in hand. They trust the night sky in ways few ever have. Ships leave the coastline gently, carrying scholars, traders, healers, their lanterns glowing like warm fireflies drifting into the horizon. Journeys grow longer, routes become safer, and knowledge travels farther than ever before. Across quiet waves, cultures meet with a sense of wonder rather than fear. Languages blend, ideas mix like colors in dawnlight, and distant peoples exchange stories beneath shared constellations. Because the world, with its greatest library still alive, feels less separated, less mysterious, less divided by silence. Maps expand slowly, shorelines are drawn with greater care, and travelers return home with tales of lands unknown, whispering them through the library's halls, where scribes record every gentle discovery. And in this world, exploration becomes an act of connection, not domination, a way of reaching out a hand and feeling another hand reach back, across oceans, across time, guided by the soft light of preserved wisdom. And now, as ships glide softly across open seas, carrying knowledge from one gentle shore to another, a new chapter begins to form in this alternate world, a chapter of harmony. In bustling markets, beneath the warm Alexandrian sun, you can hear the blending of languages, soft conversations between travelers from distant lands, voices flowing together like converging rivers. Persian scholars sit beside Greek mathematicians. Egyptian astrologers share quiet insights with travelers from India. And traders exchange woven cloth, crafted tools, and rare herbs with a peaceful respect that grows from understanding. Because knowledge, preserved and shared freely, softens the edges between cultures. With every scroll copied, with every traveler welcomed, with every idea exchanged beneath marble archways, the world grows just a little more connected, a little more gentle. Conflicts do not vanish, but they change. Disputes are settled more often with discussion than with blades, with diplomacy guided by the wisdom of countless voices kept safe within quiet library walls. And in this timeline, people begin to see themselves not as isolated nations, but as threads in a wider tapestry, woven together by curiosity, held together by shared understanding. The library, still standing, still glowing softly in the heart of Alexandria, becomes a symbol of unity, a place where differences become something to learn from, not something to fear. And tonight, as we drift through this imagined world, we feel the calm weight of this harmony, settling gently like dusk across the ancient sea. And now, as cultures blend softly like colors at twilight, the Library of Alexandria begins nurturing another calm, flowering philosophy. In quiet courtyards shaded by fig trees, scholars gather on smooth stone benches, their robes brushing lightly against the ground, their conversations drifting like warm evening air. Here, questions are welcomed like old friends. Not sharp questions, not loud ones, but gentle, thoughtful musings about the nature of existence, the essence of justice, the meaning of a life well lived. And because the library remains whole, the voices of the ancient world remain whole as well. Scrolls from Athens, meditations from the East, poetry from distant kingdoms, all rest together beneath the same calm roof. Ideas intertwine slowly, patiently, like vines finding their way across an ancient wall. Teachers walk the colonnades at dusk, their footsteps soft, their minds steady, guided by the wisdom of countless generations preserved in quiet ink. Students follow with lanterns in their hands, their young faces glowing gently with curiosity, their thoughts wandering through the great questions that have traveled unharmed through time. And in this world, philosophy becomes not an argument, but a conversation. A way for minds to touch gently, to understand one another, to search for truth without fear. As the night deepens, the courtyard falls into a warm hush. The lamps flicker, and the soft murmur of ideas continues long after the stars climb overhead. And now, as philosophy blossoms under fig tree shade, the library itself begins to change, quietly, patiently, through the people who care for it. The custodians. They move like soft shadows along the marble floors, their robes brushing gently as they pass between towering shelves. Each one trained not only to preserve scrolls, but to guard the calm spirit of the library itself. They copy texts by lamplight, writing with slow, careful strokes, the ink flowing like a whisper across smooth papyrus. Every scroll becomes a small act of devotion, a promise that no voice, no idea will be lost to the fading of time. Some tend the archives, checking that each document rests in its proper place, cool and dry, protected from sun and storm. Others guide travelers through quiet halls, helping them find the wisdom they seek. Their voices low, their movements steady, as if the library has taught them to breathe more gently. And in this world, their work is never interrupted by flames, never undone by chaos. The tradition continues, generation after generation. Families become lifelong keepers of knowledge, passing down the art of copying, the patience of preservation, the reverence for ideas. And because of them, the library grows not only larger, but calmer, a sanctuary where even the dust motes drifting through sunbeams seem to move at a thoughtful pace. Tonight, as we rest within this imagined place, we feel the quiet dedication of these custodians, holding the world's memory in their gentle hands. And now, as the custodians protect every whisper of ancient wisdom, a quiet shift begins to ripple through Alexandria, like morning light spreading across a still horizon. Science awakens earlier, not in bursts of noise, not in hurried breakthroughs, but in a steady, gentle unfolding. In rooms warmed by early sunlight, scholars gather around low wooden tables, their notes arranged neatly, their minds open and unhurried. They compare scrolls from distant ages, observations written centuries apart, patterns noticed by hands long turned to dust. Yet here, every piece remains whole, every idea is preserved. Slowly, a clearer picture begins to form. Experiments become more careful, methods more consistent, theories shaped with the same calm patience that guides the custodian's pens. Simple tools improve, bronze instruments grow more precise. Glasswork evolves quietly, helping scholars peer into the workings of nature with newfound clarity. And because this knowledge has never been scattered, never forgotten, the world begins to understand itself sooner. The cycle of stars, the push of tides, the steady patterns of the natural world all become threads in a tapestry of gentle discovery. In this timeline, curiosity is not something dangerous or fleeting, but a calm companion, guiding scholars through long afternoons where sunbeams slip across the stone floors like soft golden rivers. Tonight, as we breathe with this world, we feel the quiet joy of understanding, the peace that comes from seeing how everything connects. And now, as early science begins to take soft, steady steps, another quiet transformation spreads outward from the library's heart. Literacy, not in surges, not in grand campaigns, but in a peaceful ripple, touching city streets, coastal villages, quiet homes along the Nile. Because when a library survives, knowledge becomes less distant, less mysterious, less reserved for the few. In this world, scribes do not work alone in dim rooms. They walk through marketplaces at dawn, teaching merchants to read simple symbols. They sit beneath shaded awnings, guiding children through gentle lines of ink. They travel with caravans, bringing small bundles of papyrus to towns that have never seen the great marble columns of Alexandria. Writing becomes a soft language of connection. Letters flow like gentle river currents from one hand to another, from teacher to student, from parent to child. Stories spread, poetry blossoms, recipes, remedies, and quiet reflections move across the ancient world with a kindness that grows one voice at a time. And because people can read, their world expands. Farmers record their seasons. Traders note distant winds. Families preserve memories in small woven baskets filled with neat, delicate script. The library, no longer a single beacon, becomes a constellation, a network of tiny, glowing lanterns, each held by someone who has learned to see the world through ink and thought. And in this alternate history, literacy is not a privilege, but a gentle inheritance passed slowly, peacefully, from generation to generation. Tonight, as we drift with this soft vision, we feel the quiet power of a world where every voice can be written, and every written word can drift freely through time. And now, as literacy spreads like lantern light across distant lands, Alexandria itself begins to glow with a deeper, quieter brilliance. The city becomes a place where learning and life intertwine softly, where markets hum with gentle curiosity, and where the sea carries whispers of ideas from every shore it touches. In this timeline, Alexandria is not simply a port, but a sanctuary. Marble streets feel warm beneath bare feet. The scent of salt and jasmine drifts through the air, and the distant crash of waves blends with the soft murmur of scholars walking toward the library at sunrise. The lighthouse, the great Pharos, stands tall above the horizon, its flame steady, its glow stretching across calm waters like a golden path for travelers returning home. At night, when the city rests, oil lamps flicker in thousands of windows, each one a small reminder that someone, somewhere, is reading, thinking, dreaming quietly in the glow of preserved knowledge. The library's courtyards fill with gentle footsteps. Scrolls rustle softly in the hush of evening wind, and young students trace new letters on smooth clay tablets as teachers guide their hands with patient whispers. Alexandria becomes a city of calm brilliance, a place where time moves slowly, where ideas settle like starlight on every rooftop, every doorway, every whispered conversation. Tonight, as we drift through this softened version of history, we rest for a moment in these golden streets, breathing in the stillness, feeling the warm pulse of a city that never lost its greatest treasure. And now, as Alexandria glows with peaceful learning, another tender blossom opens in this alternate world. Art. Not art, born from turmoil, but from calm curiosity, from the steady exchange of stories, styles, and distant inspirations that gather within the library's living halls. In sunlit workshops near the harbour, painters grind pigments with quiet attention, mixing colours drawn from soft earths, crushed shells, and rare plants carried from far-off lands. Sculptors brush marble dust from their hands, their work guided by both ancient traditions and new ideas whispered through the library's corridors. Poets sit near fountains, their toes grazing cool water, listening to the gentle evening chatter as lines of verse form slowly in their minds like drifting clouds, and musicians, plucking lyres, tapping drums, singing softly beneath open skies, learn melodies from travelers who arrive on peaceful tides. Because knowledge is preserved, so is technique, so is inspiration, so is the spark that moves from one generation to the next without being extinguished. Imagery grows more detailed, stories grow more layered, and creativity becomes a language shared between peoples who once stood far apart. Around the library's colonnades, artists gather at dusk, showing each other their creations, not competing, but learning from one another with a gentle sense of wonder. And in this world, art becomes a reflection, not of conflict, but of connection, a quiet celebration of beauty, expressed through hands unhurried, through minds nourished by centuries of preserved wisdom. Tonight, as we linger among these peaceful artists, we feel the soft heartbeat of human creativity, glowing warm and steady in a world where nothing precious is lost. And now, as art blossoms gently throughout Alexandria, we step into another quiet place shaped by the library's survival, its gardens. Behind the tall marble walls, past cool shadowed corridors, lies a sanctuary of green and gold, a place where scholars rest, think, and breathe. In this world, knowledge is not confined to scrolls and chambers. It grows between leaves, along winding stone paths, beneath the shade of ancient olive trees. The gardens hum softly with life. Bees drift lazily among clusters of purple blossoms, the air warm with the scent of herbs used by healers and cooks for generations. Small fountains murmur along the walkways, their water moving at the same gentle pace as the thoughts of those who pause beside them. Students sit cross-legged on soft grass, holding fresh papyrus scrolls across their laps, reading slowly, letting each idea settle like calm rain. Philosophers wander the pathways in quiet pairs, their voices low, unhurried, as they trace the shape of new questions through the drifting afternoon light. And in these whispering gardens, the library breathes. Here, nature and knowledge are not separate, but woven together, the rhythm of rustling leaves blending with the soft turning of pages. Travelers from distant lands rest beneath vine-covered archways, sharing stories and herbs from their homelands, adding new scents, new colors to the garden's growing tapestry. And because the library still stands, the gardens become a symbol of what the world can be when wisdom is protected, when curiosity is cherished, when learning is gentle and open-hearted. Tonight, as we linger among these peaceful paths, we feel the calm hush of nature, embracing the quiet pulse of knowledge. And now, as the whispering gardens sway gently in the evening breeze, we follow a lone scholar walking slowly through the quiet corridors of Alexandria. It is late. The lamps burn low, their flames soft and steady, casting long golden shadows across the marble floors. The scholar carries no scroll tonight, only thoughts. Thoughts that drift like calm tides through the silence of the library. He pauses beneath tall archways, listens to the faint rustle of distant pages, and breathes in the comforting scent of papyrus, warmed by lamplight. In this world, night is not an ending, but an invitation to wander, to think, to touch the deeper currents of understanding. As he moves through the hall, his sandals whisper across the stone, the rhythm steady, unhurried. Each step echoes with centuries of preserved wisdom. And tonight, as we walk with him, we feel how peaceful a world becomes when knowledge is treasured. Beyond the scholar's gentle path, in a quiet chamber, lit by soft moonlight, sit the scribes, their desks arranged in calm rows, bowls of ink resting like still pools beside them. Each scribe bends over fresh papyrus, their movements slow, controlled, almost meditative. Quills glide across the surface, the ink spreading in smooth, graceful strokes. No rush, no pressure, only devotion. The library's survival has made their work sacred. They copy ancient texts so carefully that the words look as if they are breathing. The room is silent, except for the faint scratch of quills and the gentle exhale of the night breeze slipping through open windows. Above them, the moon watches, its pale light softening the world. And in this quiet chamber, every stroke of ink is a promise to the future. A promise that wisdom, in all its tender forms, will endure. And now, as scribes work beneath the moon's steady glow, far beyond Alexandria's shimmering shores, caravans begin their long, quiet journeys. They move slowly across warm desert sands, lanterns hanging from their camels like floating stars. These travelers carry scrolls wrapped in cloth, carefully protected from the wind, the sun, the shifting dunes. They travel not to conquer, but to share. Through gentle nights, under endless constellations, they cross dunes that rise and fall like soft waves of gold. Around distant campfires, they read stories to children whose villages have never known the library's tall walls, and they leave behind small bundles of knowledge, a gift with no expectation. With every step, every crossing, the ancient world grows more connected. Wisdom spreads not through force, but through kindness. And tonight, as the caravans continue beneath quiet stars, we follow their lanterns in our thoughts, feeling the peaceful reach of a world forever changed by a library that never fell. And now, as the whispering gardens sway gently in the evening breeze, we follow a lone scholar walking slowly through the quiet corridors of Alexandria. It is late. The lamps burn low, their flames soft and steady, casting long golden shadows across the marble floors. The scholar carries no scroll tonight, only thoughts. Thoughts that drift like calm tides through the silence of the library. He pauses beneath tall archways, listens to the faint rustle of distant pages, and breathes in the comforting scent of papyrus, warmed by lamplight. In this world, night is not an ending, but an invitation to wander, to think, to touch the deeper currents of understanding. As he moves through the hall, his sandals whisper across the stone, the rhythm steady, unhurried. Each step echoes with centuries of preserved wisdom. And tonight, as we walk with him, we feel how peaceful a world becomes when knowledge is treasured. Beyond the scholar's gentle path, in a quiet chamber lit by soft moonlight, sit the scribes, their desks arranged in calm rows, bowls of ink resting like still pools beside them. Each scribe bends over fresh papyrus, their movements slow, controlled, almost meditative. Quills glide across the surface, the ink spreading in smooth, graceful strokes. No rush, no pressure, only devotion. The library's survival has made their work sacred. They copy ancient texts so carefully that the words look as if they are breathing. The room is silent, except for the faint scratch of quills and the gentle exhale of the night breeze slipping through open windows. Above them, the moon watches, its pale light softening the world. And in this quiet chamber, every stroke of ink is a promise to the future, a promise that wisdom, in all its tender forms, will endure. And now, as scribes work beneath the moon's steady glow, far beyond Alexandria's shimmering shores, caravans begin their long, quiet journeys. They move slowly across warm desert sands, lanterns hanging from their camels like floating stars. These travelers carry scrolls wrapped in cloth, carefully protected from the wind, the sun, the shifting dunes. They travel not to conquer, but to share. Through gentle nights, under endless constellations, they cross dunes that rise and fall like soft waves of gold. Around distant campfires, they read stories to children whose villages have never known the library's tall walls, and they leave behind small bundles of knowledge, a gift with no expectation. With every step, every crossing, the ancient world grows more connected. Wisdom spreads not through force, but through kindness. And tonight, as the caravans continue beneath quiet stars, we follow their lanterns in our thoughts, feeling the peaceful reach of a world forever changed by a library that never fell. As the soft music drifts into the warm corridors of the library, we wander toward another place shaped by its enduring calm, a room where maps are born. Cartographers sit before wide wooden tables, their fingers stained lightly with ink, their eyes steady as they trace the edges of distant coastlines brought back by travelers and gentle explorers. The room is quiet, except for the slow brushing of quills and the faint rustle of parchment unfurling. Lanterns cast golden circles of light over maps that grow more detailed with each passing year. In this world, exploration is not a race. It is a shared curiosity, a desire to understand the earth softly without conquering it. Mountains are drawn with care, rivers traced like flowing silk, and unfamiliar lands left open, inviting wonder instead of fear. And as these maps spread across the ancient world, they guide not armies, but travelers seeking connection. Paths of gentle discovery. Beyond the map room, through hallways cooled by stone and shaded by hanging vines, lies a gathering of healers. They sit around low tables, covered with herbs, small ceramic bowls, and scrolls filled with patient observations. Their discussions are soft, measured, filled with the calm rhythm of shared purpose. In this world, healing is not a secret guarded fiercely. It is a gift freely exchanged. Healers from distant lands compare medicines from their homelands, finding similarities, discovering new blends, sharing remedies with gratitude rather than pride. The room smells of mint, sage, and warm clay, drying in the afternoon sun. A quiet trust fills the space, a belief that caring for one another is the highest form of wisdom. And as the healers work, another soft transformation stirs deeper within the library. A place where invention hums gently, never rushed. Artisans gather around early devices, studying gears, levers, and water-driven mechanisms preserved from ancient thinkers. They test improvements slowly, patiently, letting ideas unfold like petals in warm light. Nothing is forced. Innovation grows from understanding, each discovery resting on the solid foundation of knowledge that was never lost to flame. Small automata move with simple elegance. Tiny birds crafted from bronze that flutter their wings, wheels that turn in smooth, hypnotic circles. These inventions are not meant to dazzle or dominate, but to inspire curiosity, to remind those who see them that creation can be gentle and still wondrous. And tonight, as we drift among these quiet innovators, we feel the soft pulse of progress, steady, peaceful, rooted in a world where wisdom survives and grows without fear. As the quiet hum of invention settles into the warm air, we drift deeper into the library's heart, toward the place where stories from every corner of the world gather like gentle tides. Scribes sit upon low cushions, listening as travelers recount the tales of their homelands. Their quills move softly, capturing myths carried across mountains, deserts, and seas. These stories are not judged or dismissed. They are cherished, treated as threads that help weave humanity together. Some speak of gods who breathe life into forests, others of heroes who cross distant horizons, and some of humble villages where kindness shaped entire generations. Each tale is written with care, preserving not just the events, but the emotions, the quiet hopes, the small fears, the gentle wisdoms passed down through families. The room fills with a warm hush as stories become scrolls, and scrolls become lanterns guiding minds for centuries to come. Beyond the storytelling chamber, in a quiet hall cooled by evening shade, philosophers gather for their nightly reflections. They sit in soft circles, their robes brushing lightly against the stone, their voices low and thoughtful. Questions drift between them like soft smoke. What is goodness? What is purpose? How should one live in a world shaped by preserved knowledge and gentle progress? There is no debate here, no raised voices or clashing egos, only shared contemplation, a slow unfolding of thought that leaves space for silence. They pause often, listening to the steady rhythm of their own breathing, allowing each idea to settle like dust illuminated in a slant of golden light. And as the night deepens, they rise quietly, their minds calm, their hearts lighter, for having wandered through the fields of thought together. Farther into the library, beneath tall ceilings painted with constellations, astronomers prepare for the night's watch. They polish bronze instruments, adjust delicate mechanisms, and carry their star maps to the open terraces where the sky stretches wide and inviting. As darkness settles, the first stars appear, soft glimmers against a velvety sky. The astronomers breathe deeply, their minds still as they trace the movements of the heavens. Here, knowledge feels infinite. Every star, a quiet question. Every constellation, a doorway into deeper understanding. They record their observations slowly, never rushing to conclusions, trusting that truth reveals itself at its own gentle pace. And in this world, the sky becomes a companion, a vast, serene teacher that guides humanity with a patient hand. As the astronomers work, another quiet ritual unfolds in the library, the lighting of the night lamps. Custodians move through the hallways, touching flame to wick with soft, practiced motions. One by one, small golden lights awaken along the walls, casting warm circles of glow across shelves of ancient scrolls. Shadows stretch and soften, dancing lightly among the columns. The library becomes a world of amber stillness, a sanctuary floating between dusk and dawn. The custodians walk with reverence, their steps slow, their breathing measured. They tend to the lamps the same way gardeners tend to fragile blossoms, with quiet devotion and gentle hands. And as the last lamp flickers to life, the entire library seems to exhale, settling into its night's embrace. Outside, the city rests beneath a sky full of stars. Inside, wisdom glows softly, waiting for anyone who seeks it. And now, as the night deepens, we drift toward the final space of this evening's journey. A quiet alcove where individuals come alone to sit with their thoughts. Here, beneath an open skylight, a single stone bench rests in the moonlight. Visitors come in silence, placing a hand upon the cool stone as if greeting an old friend. Some sit and close their eyes, feeling the weight of the world ease from their shoulders. Others open a scroll and read a single line, letting it resonate gently within them without the need for answers. The moon casts a soft glow across the floor, and the air is still, carrying only the faintest hint of distant waves brushing the shore. This alcove is not a place of study, nor of discussion. It is a place of being, a space where the heart finds quiet and the mind settles like calm water, untouched by wind. And as we linger here tonight, we feel the deep peace that comes from a world that chose to preserve knowledge instead of losing it to flame. As the quiet moonlit alcove settles into stillness, we drift once more into the wider heart of Alexandria, a city breathing calmly beneath a gentle night sky. Soft footsteps echo through narrow streets, where lanterns sway lightly in the sea breeze, and the distant murmur of waves rolls against the harbor walls like a lullaby carried through time. Fishermen mend their nets in silence, their hands moving slowly, thoughtfully, guided by rhythms learned from their fathers and their fathers before them. Children sleep in small rooms, lit by the faint glow of clay lamps, their dreams shaped by stories read to them from scrolls that survived because the library did too. And far above the rooftops, the great lighthouse of Pharos turns its eternal flame, a quiet guardian watching over the sea. Its warm beam sweeps across the waters, steady as breath, a symbol of a world kept safe by knowledge, connection, and gentle curiosity. As dawn approaches, a hush of expectancy moves through the city. Bakers rise early, their ovens glowing like pockets of sunrise as they shape dough with peaceful hands. The scent of warm bread drifts between sandstone walls, mingling with the salty morning air and the faint notes of music played by a lone musician greeting the new day. Inside the library, custodians prepare for the morning opening. They dust each shelf with care, straighten scrolls with soft fingers, and make sure that the halls feel welcoming to every curious soul who steps across the threshold. When the doors finally open, a handful of early visitors enter quietly. A sailor curious about distant constellations, a mother bringing her child to learn letters, a philosopher beginning his day with reflection, a healer seeking a new remedy from an ancient text. Their paths cross gently, woven together by the shared stillness that fills the library like warm light. No one hurries, no one raises their voice. The world here moves with intention, each moment unfolding at a pace that invites wonder. As the morning deepens, groups gather in shaded courtyards to share their experiences from across the world. A traveler from a northern kingdom describes snow that blankets his homeland in shimmering silence. A woman from a distant island speaks of waves so tall they seem to brush the sky. A young trader tells of spices so fragrant they perfume entire marketplaces. Each story is met with soft interest, not skepticism, for here, every experience is a window into a world worth understanding. Nearby, artists sit with their tablets and pigments, capturing these tales in images, smooth lines, warm colors, quiet compositions that preserve not just the facts, but the feeling, a sense of awe, a sense of possibility. And as the day stretches toward afternoon, the library's gardens come alive. Singers practice gentle melodies beneath fig branches, their voices blending with the sound of water trickling through narrow channels carved into the stone long ago. Students gather in small groups, sharing scrolls, copying passages, or simply lying in the grass, watching clouds drifts slowly across the sky as they contemplate the ideas they have learned. Even time itself seems softer here, moving not in sharp ticks, but in long, peaceful breaths. And as we linger among these scenes, the intertwined stories, the shared discoveries, the quiet artistry blooming in every corner, we feel how deeply this world has been shaped by the library's survival. A world where knowledge is not a privilege, but a gentle inheritance that flows from hand to hand, heart to heart, generation to generation. A world calmer, wiser, and more connected than the one we know. A world shaped not by what was lost, but by what was lovingly kept. As the soft afternoon light settles into gold, the library becomes a haven of shadows and warmth. Sunbeams slip between tall columns, casting long, gentle patterns across the marble floors as the day begins its slow descent. In the quieter corners of the library, scholars gather for evening reflection. They sit beside open windows where the breeze carries the scent of the sea and the distant calls of fishermen returning to the harbour. Their conversations are calm, unhurried, woven with the wisdom of pages that have travelled through centuries untouched by flame. A young woman traces her finger along a line of ancient text, her eyes soft with wonder. Beside her, an older teacher smiles knowingly, remembering the first time he read the same words. Knowledge moves between them like a quiet current, bridging years with the gentlest of touches. Outside, the marketplace begins to cool. Vendors pack their goods with contentment, their day's trade guided by fair weights, clear records, and shared trust, fostered by a world that treasures learning. Even simple transactions feel different here, infused with patience, honesty, and a sense of community. Near the docks, travellers preparing to depart linger a little longer in the fading light. They exchange stories with locals, their voices low, their laughter soft. For many, Alexandria becomes a second home, a place they leave reluctantly, always with a new scroll tucked safely among their belongings to carry back to distant shores. As dusk approaches, musicians begin to gather in the open plazas. They tune their instruments delicately, plucking strings that shimmer like droplets of light in the warm evening air. Children sit cross-legged at the edge of the square, anticipating the melodies that mark the coming of night. The first notes rise slowly, gentle, soothing, echoing through alleyways and mingling with the laughter of families sharing food outside their homes. Fathers pour cups of honeyed drink. Mothers tell stories as they braid their children's hair, and neighbors greet one another with the softness of people who feel safe, connected, and at peace. As night finally unfolds, the lighthouse of Pharos ignites once more, its great flame stretching across the harbour like a quiet promise. Sailors watch the beam sweep steadily across the waves, comforted by its unwavering glow. It guides them not just to safety, but to a city that holds wisdom as its greatest treasure. Inside the library, custodians begin their nightly rounds. They close shutters gently, straighten cushions, and ensure each scroll rests safely in its place. Their footsteps are slow, purposeful, a soft ritual that spans generations. And in a secluded chamber, historians gather for their nightly work. They write not of battles or kings, but of the quiet triumphs of everyday life. New medicines discovered, languages connected, friendships formed between distant peoples. They document the small miracles that grow naturally in a world where knowledge thrives. Their quills move steadily, guided by lamplight that flickers like warm breath. Each word they write is a seed planted for centuries yet to come. Outside, the city settles into its gentle night rhythm. Lanterns glow along the streets, casting soft circles of amber light over families returning home, over lovers walking side by side, over the calm waters of the harbour, where reflections ripple like liquid gold. The world feels slower here, softer, held together not by force but by understanding, by curiosity, by the silent agreement that the preservation of wisdom makes life kinder for everyone. And as we linger in this unfolding night, we feel the deep peace of a civilization that never lost its light. A world shaped not by destruction, but by gentle endurance. As the soft afternoon light settles into gold, the library becomes a haven of shadows and warmth. Sunbeams slip between tall columns, casting long, gentle patterns across the marble floors as the day begins its slow descent. In the quieter corners of the library, scholars gather for evening reflection. They sit beside open windows where the breeze carries the scent of the sea and the distant calls of fishermen returning to the harbour. Their conversations are calm, unhurried, woven with the wisdom of pages that have travelled through centuries untouched by flame. A young woman traces her finger along a line of ancient text, her eyes soft with wonder. Beside her, an older teacher smiles knowingly, remembering the first time he read the same words. Knowledge moves between them like a quiet current, bridging years with the gentlest of touches. Outside, the marketplace begins to cool. Vendors pack their goods with contentment, their day's trade guided by fair weights, clear records, and shared trust, fostered by a world that treasures learning. Even simple transactions feel different here, infused with patience, honesty, and a sense of community. Near the docks, travellers preparing to depart linger a little longer in the fading light. They exchange stories with locals, their voices low, their laughter soft. For many, Alexandria becomes a second home, a place they leave reluctantly, always with a new scroll tucked safely among their belongings to carry back to distant shores. As dusk approaches, musicians begin to gather in the open plazas. They tune their instruments delicately, plucking strings that shimmer like droplets of light in the warm evening air. Children sit cross-legged at the edge of the square, anticipating the melodies that mark the coming of night. The first notes rise slowly, gentle, soothing, echoing through alleyways and mingling with the laughter of families sharing food outside their homes. Fathers pour cups of honeyed drink. Mothers tell stories as they braid their children's hair, and neighbors greet one another with the softness of people who feel safe, connected, and at peace. As night finally unfolds, the lighthouse of Pharos ignites once more, its great flame stretching across the harbour like a quiet promise. Sailors watch the beam sweep steadily across the waves, comforted by its unwavering glow. It guides them not just to safety, but to a city that holds wisdom as its greatest treasure. Inside the library, custodians begin their nightly rounds. They close shutters gently, straighten cushions, and ensure each scroll rests safely in its place. Their footsteps are slow, purposeful, a soft ritual that spans generations. And in a secluded chamber, historians gather for their nightly work. They write not of battles or kings, but of the quiet triumphs of everyday life. New medicines discovered, languages connected, friendships formed between distant peoples. They document the small miracles that grow naturally in a world where knowledge thrives. Their quills move steadily, guided by lamplight that flickers like warm breath. Each word they write is a seed planted for centuries yet to come. Outside, the city settles into its gentle night rhythm. Lanterns glow along the streets, casting soft circles of amber light over families returning home, over lovers walking side by side, over the calm waters of the harbour, where reflections ripple like liquid gold. The world feels slower here, softer, held together not by force but by understanding, by curiosity, by the silent agreement that the preservation of wisdom makes life kinder for everyone. And as we linger in this unfolding night, we feel the deep peace of a civilization that never lost its light, a world shaped not by destruction, but by gentle endurance. As the night grows late, a soft mist begins to drift in from the sea, curling gently around Alexandria's quiet streets. The stones glisten faintly beneath its touch, as though the city itself is exhaling, settling deeper into its peaceful slumber. Within the library, the last lamps burn low, their warm glow flickers across shelves lined with countless scrolls, each one holding a voice, a memory, a piece of the world preserved through care instead of chaos. A custodian moves slowly through the hall, making her final rounds. She stops before a worn wooden table, tracing her fingers along the grain as if greeting an old friend. She knows this place intimately. Every shelf, every stone, every whisper of history woven into the air. She pauses to adjust a small clay jar of ink, nudging it into its proper place. Even the smallest task is done with intention, with reverence, as though the act of caring for this space is part of caring for the world itself. Outside, the city's rooftops fade into silver as the mist thickens. Balconies drip softly with moisture, and distant lanterns appear as golden dots hovering in the haze. The lighthouse's powerful beam cuts through the fog like a calm blade of light, steady and unwavering. Near the harbour, a group of fishermen huddles close beneath a wide canopy. Their voices are low, speaking of the tides, of family, of hopes for the next morning's catch. They warm their hands over a small flame, their laughter gentle, unforced, the sound blending with the soft rhythm of waves brushing the docks. Not far away, a young poet sits by herself on a smooth stone bench overlooking the sea. She lifts her face to the mist, eyes half closed, letting the damp night air kiss her skin. In her lap rests a simple scroll filled with half-finished verses. She writes slowly, carefully, pausing often to watch the shifting glow of the lighthouse in the fog. The world inspires her, the softness of the night, the steadiness of the library, the sense that knowledge here is alive, breathing, growing gently with every passing year. She dips her quill, lets the ink gather, and continues her quiet work. Farther inland, families sleep peacefully in their small homes. A mother pulls a blanket over her child's shoulders, brushing a strand of hair from the sleeping face before lying down beside them. In another home, an elderly man listens to the faint hum of night insects outside his window. He thinks about the scroll he read earlier, an old story he had not visited in decades, one that reminded him of the innocence of youth, the importance of kindness, the gentle strength that grows from understanding. And near the center of the city, beneath the shadow of the library's grand columns, two lovers walk hand in hand. They say little, content with the silence, with the feel of their fingers intertwined in the cool night air. They pause beneath an ancient olive tree, its branches heavy with dew. The woman leans her head on the man's shoulder, and together they look up at the night sky. Faint stars shimmering beyond the drifting mist. Above them, The great library stands like a guardian of light and thought, its presence comforting, its purpose clear. It is a place that holds the world together, not through power, but through peace, through the simple, unbroken chain of knowledge shared freely across generations. And as the night deepens further, as the mist thickens and the city softens into dream, Alexandria rests in a quiet harmony, a harmony shaped by wisdom that endured, and a world that chose to grow gently instead of burn. As the soft warmth of morning settles deeper into Alexandria, the library becomes gently alive with footsteps and whispers. Sunlight glides along the stone floors, the glow shifting slowly like honey poured across smooth marble. Scribes take their places at the long tables, their quills poised above fresh papyrus, waiting for inspiration to settle into their hands. Nearby, a group of travelers unfurl maps, drawn during journeys across distant deserts. The edges dusted with sand from lands so far their names feel like music on the tongue. They speak quietly, describing mountain passes shaped like sleeping giants and hidden oases where water glimmers beneath palms rustling in warm winds. In the gardens, children trace letters in the dirt with shy smiles, their teachers guiding their hands with patience, learned from generations of gentle instruction. The scent of wild mint drifts from nearby beds, mingling with the faint sweetness of figs ripening beneath the midday sun. Every small sound, a page turning, a bird's wings brushing the air, a child's soft laugh, feels like part of a larger harmony, a quiet song the city has sung for centuries without pause. As afternoon approaches, a healer walks the garden paths, her fingers brushing against leaves as she studies their color and fragrance. She pauses beside a pool where sunlight dances in soft, trembling patterns along the surface of the water. Her apprentice joins her, holding a scroll filled with notes on remedies discovered in faraway markets. Together, they kneel, the ripples reflecting in their eyes as they compare knowledge drawn from different corners of the world. Knowledge kept safe by the library's enduring sanctuary. Inside the grand reading hall, philosophers gather again, forming a gentle circle beneath shafts of sunlit dust. They speak of the nature of wisdom, of the heart's quiet longing to understand, of the peace that comes when knowledge flows freely between curious minds. Their words drift upward into the high arches, echoing softly like distant chanting in a temple. As evening nears once more, the library's tall shadows stretch across the courtyard. The soft chorus of city life settles into a gentle hush. A young scholar climbs the marble steps, carrying a worn scroll against her chest, seeking a place by the window to read as the day exhales its final breath. Her eyes glow faintly in the golden light as she traces line after line, feeling the soft rhythm of a world shaped by preserved wisdom. The evening drifts slowly into Alexandria like a warm tide, softening every sound, every movement, until the city feels wrapped in a quiet embrace. Shops close with gentle finality, their wooden doors resting against the frames as lanterns flicker to life along narrow streets. Families gather in shaded courtyards to share small meals, their laughter floating softly beneath the deepening sky. In the harbor, boats rock in slow rhythms, their ropes creaking like whispered stories told from ship to shore. Inside the library, the lamps glow brighter as natural light fades, casting golden halos upon scrolls that have survived centuries untouched by fire. A group of musicians settles near a garden wall, testing chords on their lyres and flutes as they prepare to play evening songs. Their melodies rise gently, echoing between marble columns, their harmonies weaving with the subtle rustling of leaves in the night breeze. People gather quietly to listen, allowing the music to settle deep within them like warm light, finding still water. Nearby, a trio of astronomers climbs the stairs to the open terrace above the reading hall. They carry bronze instruments, polished to a soft shine, their star maps carefully rolled beneath their arms. The sky spreads wide above them, a great velvet canvas dotted with ancient constellations. They speak in low tones as they compare tonight's sky with the charts preserved from generations past. Every point of light holds meaning to them, a reminder that the universe moves with rhythms as gentle as the tides, brushing Alexandria's shores. Down in the lower chambers, a storyteller sits surrounded by eager listeners, her hands moving gracefully as she recounts an old tale brought from a distant land. Her voice is soft, steady, carrying images of hidden kingdoms, wandering heroes, and wise spirits who steer travelers home. Children lean close, their eyes wide, as the story unfolds like a silk tapestry spreading across the floor. Even the adults listen silently, their hearts warmed by the comfort of familiar wonder. Outside the great doors, the city begins to cool beneath the moonlight. Streets shimmer with silvery glow, and the lighthouse flame stretches outward. A steady, golden beam guiding sailors and wanderers through the gentle dark. A quiet peace settles over Alexandria, the kind that comes from centuries of shared understanding and the unbroken chain of knowledge preserved. As the moon climbs higher over the quiet city, Alexandria glows with a peaceful silver sheen. The mist that once drifted along the harbor has thinned into a soft veil that makes every lantern appear like a floating star suspended in the night. The gentle hum of distant waves rolls through the streets, filling the silence with a calming rhythm that seems as old as the stones beneath it. Inside the library, a lone scribe walks slowly among the shelves, her fingers brushing lightly over the edges of ancient papyrus. She pauses every so often to straighten a scroll here, adjust a lamp there, treating the space with the same care one gives a sleeping child. The atmosphere is thick with serenity, as though the building itself is breathing in time with her footsteps. Farther inside, a small cluster of scholars gathers around a single table. Their faces are illuminated by a pair of flickering lamps, their voices barely above a whisper. They are sharing discoveries made earlier in the day, observations of the sky, new interpretations of ancient lines, ideas that arrived quietly during solitary walks through the garden. Their conversation flows without urgency, each thought allowed to unfold naturally, like a blossom opening beneath gentle sun. Outside, the gardens sway in the cool night breeze. Olive branches rustle softly, and the fountains murmur like distant lullabies. A young student sits alone by the water's edge, her feet dangling above the shimmering pool. She studies her reflection, watching as the moonlight ripples across her features. She holds a small scroll in her hands, a piece of her own writing, a quiet offering to the endless chain of knowledge that connects her to generations before. Beyond the garden walls, the lighthouse continues its steady rotation, casting long paths of light across the sea. Ships anchored offshore rock gently in its beam, their silhouettes softened by the hazy glow. Sailors aboard these vessels lean against the rails, listening to the distant echoes of music drifting from the city. They close their eyes, letting the sound carry them inward, toward gentle memories of simpler nights. In the final hours before dawn, A deep stillness settles over everything. The city sleeps in the cradle of the night, wrapped in peace born from centuries of shared understanding. The library stands like a guardian, its tall columns rising into the moonlight, its shadow stretching calmly across the quiet courtyard. Inside, the last lamp flickers softly, casting warm light over the scrolls resting in their alcoves, and as the sky begins to pale, softening from deep blue into lavender, Alexandria exhales, a breath slow and gentle, as though releasing the final sigh of another peaceful night. The first faint glow of dawn touches the highest rooftops, and the world seems to awaken with quiet gratitude for the knowledge preserved, the wisdom shared, the light never lost. In this tender moment, before morning fully arrives, the city rests in perfect stillness, a world shaped by gentle hands, guided by preserved truth, and held together by the soft, eternal glow of a library that was never destroyed.